Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. I am that pretty strong BMF. Today we're going to be working on our first isolation exercise. So what does that mean? An isolation exercise is intended, that is, it focuses on just one muscle group at a time, as opposed to the compound movements that we were doing before, say in the 5 fundamental movements series. Those are all considered compound exercises. Now, if we're being pedantic, some may argue that the upward press is not a compound movement, but I say it is. That aside, we're going to focus on our first isolation movement today. That is the bicep curl. So if you want to get those big, juicy biceps, you want to go like this when someone says flex. If you want that effect, we're going to have to do some curls. Anytime you work your biceps, if you're trying to work specifically your biceps to grow them, it's going to be some kind of curl. Now, technically, the back row that we've already done does work your biceps to a slight degree, but you're not going to get big biceps. You're not going to get big arms by doing the row, any row exercise, probably. I sincerely doubt it anyway. It's primarily a back movement. It's for your back. And your biceps and forearms are just kind of secondary movers to that. So, how do we do a bicep curl? Well, first off, when we pick up our weights, make sure we stick out our butt. I cannot stress how important it is to not just bend down to the floor like this when you're picking things up off the floor. Keep that lower back rigid and stick out your butt. Bend your knees, don't bend your knees. That part is less important. Stick out that butt when you are going to pick something up off the floor. Now, I'm going to do a front view first so that you can see it from the front, and then, like the other demonstrations, I'm going to do it from the side as well so you can see that. So, we're going to simply hold our dumbbells to the side, doing a more conventional bicep curl first. We're going to hold them to the side. We're going to stick out our chest, think big chest, and then we're going to put our shoulders back. And we're going to want to squeeze our scapulae or our shoulder blades together a little bit, just like we did for the push-ups, okay? For our forward press movement, to try to minimize that shoulder movement. Remember, that's why we did that. We were squeezing our shoulder blades together and putting our shoulders back because that takes the shoulders out of the equation, or at least as much as possible, so that we can focus on our chest. Same reasoning here, except now we're taking out the shoulders so we can focus on our biceps. So we're going to hold the dumbbells to the side, get into position, and we're simply going to bring the dumbbells up into this position and try to squeeze that bicep. Okay, when it gets to the top, hold it there for just a brief moment, and then lower them down again. Now I'm going to show you that from the side so that you can see what I'm doing. As you can see, I'm standing nice and tall and upright. I'm firmly planted on the floor, got my dumbbells to the side, and we're going to simply bring them up. Now, notice what I'm not doing. I'm not rocking my body for momentum. Okay, now granted these are light weights that I'm using for demo purposes, but one of the disadvantages, one of the risks of using heavier weights for any exercise really is that you're liable to sacrifice your form. Okay, you're likely to ruin the form, ruin the technique, and therefore limit the benefits of the exercise because you're using momentum to do the work. So we're not going like this. We're not swinging our arms either. That's why we want to keep our shoulders back like this, because that minimizes the movement of the shoulders. So our shoulders are not doing the work. It's our arms or our biceps that we want to do the work. Now, there's some variations to this exercise. One of the things you can do is when you have it in this sort of neutral position, it's not actually neutral. You can hold them out like this a little bit. You want to put stress on the muscle for as long as possible if you really want to work that muscle. So we can have it like this, and then we can bring it up. And instead of going down here and kind of resting, because that's basically what we're doing, we keep it out here and keep tension somewhat on the bicep and especially those forearms. And that's how we do it. Another variation is you can try to simulate a barbell bicep curl. So whether you have a long bar called a barbell, with weights on the ends of it, kind of like you would have for a bench press, or if you have what's called an easy bar, which is basically a bar that's designed for curling and other exercises. It's more ergonomic. But the point is, it's one bar with plates on the ends, right? You don't have dumbbells. Some would say that's the best way to do a bicep curl, is to do it with a barbell. But we don't need a barbell because we got dumbbells. Dumbbells are cool. So we're going to go like this, and then we're going to squeeze at the top. And one of the advantages of doing it this way is that it kind of forces you to keep your dumbbells, your weights, in this position in front of you, like I mentioned before, rather than having them to the side, because this just feels kind of weird. Because if I have my arms out here, right? If I have them out here in front of me when I curl, I'm trying to stack the joints, I'm trying to keep everything in alignment, and I bring them down, you can see my elbows are kind of starting to jab into my sides, and the dumbbells come down to here. That doesn't really, it doesn't make any sense. So when I come here, I'm going to bring them down here in front of me, and then bring them up again. And that forces me to have more time under tension. Another variation of the bicep curl is really a different kind of curl altogether. This is called the hammer curl, and it's pretty self-explanatory actually. It's like swinging a hammer. So we're going to start out here, because this is my preferred place to start. We're going to start here and simply bring it up like this. Now I can tell you this exercise gets a lot of flack. There's not a lot of love for the hammer curl. And I have respect for any bodybuilder who gives it meaningful attention, justified attention, in my opinion. This is the way I generally prefer to do my bicep curls. When you do a more conventional curl like this, you're probably going to be building a taller bicep. Okay, so that when you flex, the bicep is going to be a little taller than it would be if you were doing a hammer curl. However, hammer curls also work a muscle in your forearm that goes into your bicep called the brachioradialis. And what that does is it not only works your forearms more, but it gives you a fuller or rounder bicep rather than a taller one. And that's frankly what I would prefer to have. I would rather have fuller arms, so to speak, and fill those shirt sleeves, rather than have a taller bicep that you can show off when you're flexing like this. It looks cool and all, but when you're at rest, you end up having a skinny little arm and it doesn't fill your sleeves, and I just don't think that looks as good. So that's one reason I prefer hammer curls. There's another reason though. If you recall, I just mentioned that the brachioradialis begins in your forearm, and that's the thing. The hammer curl is it's a fantastic forearm building exercise. So you're not just getting work in your biceps, but you're also getting work in your forearms, which can be a difficult muscle group to train. And indeed, people who lift a lot of weight, especially power lifters, you'll often see them using straps, right? Because what happens is their other muscles, like their legs and their back and everything, these huge muscle groups can take on so much weight, but they're limited, they're handicapped by the strength of their forearms, so they have to use straps and grips and such things. So it may be a benefit to you to work your forearms more so that you can have a stronger grip, so that you can handle other tasks easier. Now notice when I'm holding these and versus when I'm holding these like this. If I'm holding them like this, then my hands, like my palms rather, my palms specifically, and to some extent my fingers, they're helping to support that weight. So I don't even have to, I can be open-handed. And as long as I got these light weights, right? I can be like open-handed and still do this exercise. That ain't gonna happen if I turn them this way. I have to grip them. So again, it is an excellent forearm and grip strength builder. It's going to build strength in your hands, your forearms, and your biceps. So, whereas the conventional curl, whether you're doing it that way or this way and turning them, that might be a little better for your biceps overall a little bit, especially if you're looking for that taller peak. But if you want better rounded arms and more strength and functionality overall, I'd say go with the hammer curl. And honestly, since we're on the subject of functionality, when you're just moving about in daily life, which are you more likely to do if you have to pick something up? Are you going to pick up a gallon of milk like this or like this? No, you pick it up like this, of course. Pick up a laundry basket, you pick it up like this. Garbage pail, paint bucket. There are few instances, that I realistically I could say it's more practical to strengthen your arms with this movement rather than this one. Maybe if you have to like pick up a couch, okay, so again, it's occupational. If you're a mover or something and you're doing a lot of heavy lifting like that, maybe this would be better for you. But I think for just general functionality, the hammer curl is more practical. Picking up groceries, picking up a paint bucket, like I said, taking milk out of the fridge, swinging a literal hammer. It just seems more practical to me. Now maybe if you're a pizza delivery person or a waiter or something and you're carrying things like this in this position, this would be more helpful. That's something you'll have to determine for yourself. So why does the hammer curl get so much criticism? Well, a lot of people just think it's too easy. Well, I say if an exercise is too easy, there are probably ways that you could modify it to make it less easy. And in fact, there are. So I'm going to show you two things you can do. First off, don't start, like I said earlier, don't start with your dumbbells to the side. Start them out here. That makes a big difference. It makes a huge difference. If you start here and bring it up, and then you try to like extend your arms toward the floor like this and bring them up again. If you're doing it this way versus bring them to the side like this, big difference. I can feel a lot more tension even with these light 5-pound dumbbells that I would never train with in an actual training session. Other thing you can do, and this is a bit more technical, but like we did with our back rows, we're going to go down a little bit. We're going to stick out our butt and keep that back rigid. So we're going to get into this position here. Not like this. Oh, God. It's so scary. No, we're going to go like this. We're going to have, and for this, we do want to hang our dumbbells to the side because this is different from this. When they're like this, they're parallel with my body, right? Like this, they're still perpendicular to the floor, but no longer parallel with my body. So now here we want to have them hang down like this, have a nice tight grip, and then we bring them up, shoulders back. We don't want to move those shoulders. Squeeze the forearms. Bring down again. And I can tell you, even with these 5-pound dumbbells, I could not do this all day. I couldn't. I can feel the tension in my biceps and in my forearms somewhat building, even as I'm just demonstrating with these tiny little light dumbbells. 5 pounds, that's all these are. I normally train with 20, 25, 30 plus pounds, depending on what I'm doing. when I'm doing bicep curls, these are only 5 pounds and I'm still feeling the tension. So that is a great modification. Coming down like this. You will not be able to do that all day. You will feel it. It's great for your grip. It's great for your forearms and getting a nice full bicep. So there they are. Simple variations for the bicep curl. Conventional. You start here, whether you're to the side or in front. One is more challenging than the other. You can figure out for yourself which you prefer. Do some experimentation. That's what it's all about. You'll have to figure out what you like to do best. And if if the easier way to go is better for you, then go ahead and do that one. If you prefer the harder one, then do that one. It's all up to you. That's the bicep curl. It's a very simple exercise. You just have to remember to keep yourself rigid and be pretty strict. Okay, you don't want that swing. You don't want that shoulder swing or body swing. You want to minimize momentum as much as you can to make sure that your bicep is getting the workload rather than your shoulder and your hips and every other muscle group you could possibly incorporate. You don't want all that. You want to work your bicep. That's why you're doing your bicep curl in the first place. So that's it, everyone, for this video. That's the bicep curl. Go out and train those arms and get some nice juicy biceps. And remember, if someone asks you to flex or you do it voluntarily, bring up those arms like this. Nice and strong. Well, bodybuilding tip right there. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next video.